The Film Crickets are intended for mature audiences. Any guests on the Film Crickets do not necessarily share the same opinions as the Film Crickets.
Film Crickets, chirping about movies.
It's time for the Film Crickets with Jay Fortier, Chris Martineau, and Melanie Howerton. On this week's episode, the Crickets are joined by founder, CEO, and host of TYT Network and Democratic presidential candidate, Cenk Uygur. Jay, Chris, Melanie, and Cenk review the 1993 American Western film, Tombstone. Does it stand the test of time? Let's find out. Your Film Crickets are on now.
Hey, friends, and welcome to the Film Crickets. It's a podcast where we talk about movies from 1980 to 1999 and decide beyond a shadow of a doubt whether or not these movies stand the test of time. I am your co-host, Jay Fortier, along with my good friend and co-host, Chris Martineau.
Hello, what's happening?
Hey, man.
All right.
Along with my good friend and co-host, Melanie Howerton. How you doing, Melanie?
Good. How about you guys?
All right, doing all right. Hey, about a month or so ago, when we booked Cenk, I said, "Hey, that's really cool. He's got a book." I didn't realize that there was an extra bonus going to be added. So when he announced that he was going to be running for president, I was like, "Hey, is this still on?" Because I was like, I don't know.
Are you sure about that?
Yeah. Are we still? Is he going to still have time to talk about Tombstone?
Yeah.
So welcome, man.
So thank you, brother. I appreciate it. First of all, when you're running for president, you'll take any publicity. Seriously, no, I love stuff like this. I mean, if I had my druthers, I'd do a podcast just like you guys. We used to do a show called What the Flick on our network, on the TYT network. And for a while, we were the top Game of Thrones review show in the country. And so, and we had Christy Lemire from Associated Press, Ben Mankiewicz from Turner Classic Movies, Matt Ashley from Rotten Tomatoes, Alonso Duralde from The Wrap. So we had some killers, and I would join in, even though I was the amateur. And I spiced things up with nonsense reviews.
What does nonsense review mean?
Hey, it was, I get it wasn't a great top movie, but I loved it. And I don't sometimes I care about the cinematography, but a lot of times I don't. Okay, what are you going to do about it?
Well, we don't go that much of a deep dive here. Sometimes we do, sometimes you don't. Sometimes you want a movie like Citizen Kane, and sometimes you want a greasy cheeseburger like Big Trouble in Little China. So either way works. So I'm glad you're here. That's fantastic.
Well, Big Trouble in Little China also had Kurt Russell. So
yes. I got a lot to say about Kurt Russell in this movie, boy, because I am on the Kurt Russell bandwagon. I can't find a lot of, even the shitty movies he's in.
Yeah.
Boy, you're like, what's not to like about Kurt Russell?
I have some good trivia on this movie.
We're talking about Tombstone. We're talking about Kurt Russell. I'm weirdly torn about both. Even though I love Tombstone, I'm going to explain a little bit why I'm torn about Tombstone. How's that for a tease?
I love it because I'm on a weird love mildly dislike fence about this movie. So because I've never seen it, believe it or not, I have never seen this movie. It was never on my radar, and I love Kurt Russell.
Yeah.
He's fantastic, and I love Bill Paxton. I like Michael Biehn, Sam Neill's in this movie. There's so many. Oh my God, Val Kilmer. So many good people in this movie, and I never watched it. It was right around that time for me, 1993. I was a freshman in college, didn't have any money, didn't go out to go see movies necessarily, and then it just never came back in. I knew it existed, never saw it. So let's get it. Let's talk about Tombstone. So before we talk about the movie, and I'm so glad that you guys kind of, I hate to say made me watch it, but my assignment was to watch it for the first time. Let's go into history. So Cenk, what's your history with Tombstone? Did you see it in the theater? Did you rent it a lot? Did you own it? What's the deal? What's your connection to Tombstone?
Yeah, I saw it at the Movie City 5 in East Brunswick, New Jersey.
Okay.
The right way to see a movie with a lot of butter on that popcorn.
Oh yeah.
And I remember watching the movie coming out. And by the way, I would have been a freshman in college too.
Sure.
Actually, maybe sophomore. But I was back home because I remember I watched it with my high school friends, and I came out of the movie thinking, I was kind of I loved it, but it was kind of schlocky, right? And I couldn't quite tell if they meant to be schlocky or not. And so I thought the others were not going to like it. And then we go and do our usual ritual where we hang out in the parking lot and talk about the movie. These days you make a podcast out of it. And I remember Twan, my friend, going, I loved it. I was like, oh, you did? I loved it. And so I was surprised and we enjoyed it. But to this day, I still have that overriding question of, wait, was it intended to be over the top and kind of a comedy, or was it intended to be a straight up Western?
Yeah, that's what I was wondering when I watched the movie. Like, what are they trying to tell me? But I want to go more into that analysis later, because we are at a position in movie history in the 90s where the Westerns were trying to come back. We had Unforgiven, Silverado, Tombstone. I can't remember the others, but it was trying to make a comeback. And Unforgiven won the Oscar for Best Movie, and it's so good. And this movie came after it. So I think there's this weird resurgence of this curiosity about the Western and what it meant to the history of America, like what happened back in the day. And I do think it does take some liberties with history, but doesn't matter because that's a movie. So you saw it, you liked it. You're wondering if your friends liked it. You and your friends were entertained by it in 1993. So let's move around the horn here. Jason, your history with Tombstone.
I was never a Western guy growing up. See, because my dad would watch them, but it was always a matter of him taking over what I was watching, and then he put on these ancient Westerns. But it was never a bonding moment. It was never something we were like, hey, check this out because it's so good. It was always, give me that damn remote. Or like,
it's my turn. God damn it.
Cartoons or MTV over, right? So like, it was always like, I don't know what's this crap. So I'd walk away. It was never something I cared about. Now I did see the trailer or like at least TV trailers for that. And I was like, that looks really good. And I never saw it in the theater, but I saw it. I rented it at home, and I remember it was like a blazing hot night in the summer, and I was like, "Hey, Dad, I got a couple of movies here. Check it out. There's one of them. It's called Tombstone. It's a Western. You know, it's like the easiest thing to sell to him." Right? And he was like, "Yeah, all right, I'll watch that." And so it was an instant love. Like I was like, I freaking love this thing. So I look at other like I don't know, the Unforgiven movie. You love it so much. I think it's like very slow.
It is.
It takes a long ass time to get to. Like I'm like, I don't even remember even if I got to the ending. I'll have to like try again. But it's just I love the pacing of this, and this is like this set the tone for me.
Okay.
So I compare every Western I see to like, but it doesn't have that speed of Tombstone. Like Tombstone comes like fucking like it just nails you right from the jump.
Guys, can I say that like Tombstone, this is like a Western made by Michael Bay.
Yeah. Well,
right. It's just like popcorn, gunfire.
Love it, baby.
Barely like, what's the motivation of anybody? Yeah, it doesn't matter.
You know
There's bad guys or good guys. And we're going to have 6-shooters shoot about 14 rounds. Besides that, whatever.
Before we get to Melanie's history, I just want to say the reason why we're doing Tombstone is Cenk quotes about 3 different films on his show. One of them's Pulp Fiction occasionally. He says,
great.
He says, it's about the money, Lebowski, which we've already covered both of those films. And I was like, and occasionally he says, I'm your Huckleberry. So I was like, we're doing Tombstone.
Cenk, do you know the history of I'm Your Huckleberry?
I have that.
I don't.
All right, we're gonna get into that.
Let's save that. I want to hear what Melanie's experience was, and I actually have a couple other lines that I misquote that I love.
Whatever. Either way. All right, Melanie, talk to me about Tombstone.
Okay, so I'm thinking I might have seen this one in the movies. to me, it's more like a guy's movie, honestly, like a Western.
Totally.
Like, but I remember really liking it, and I loved Val Kilmer and like all the cast that was in it. And like, I think Val Kilmer in this was like, to me, like probably the reason why I wanted to go see it. I mean,
Sure.
Kurt Russell's in it. Love Kurt Russell too, but like,
Uh-huh.
and I love like just every part of, Val Kilmer's part. So I think I was excited to see it for him, but I remember being really interested in it and really liking it.
Okay.
It's changed a little bit for me as I got older because I don't own it. And
Right.
I don't think I've seen this in many, many, many years. I can't even remember it. I mean, it literally could be late 90s that I've actually last time I watched it. So I didn't remember anything except for like one thing, and that was the Val Kilmer part.
All right. Cool.
Yeah, that's where I am.
Excellent. So look, I'm going to give you my history with it. My longtime friend and often listener, Brian, we used to have once a year, and it seems like, when you're young, it seemed like we did this every year, when really it was only about 3 times. Because how long have you known them, right?
Yeah.
Because I only knew him from 7th to about 11th, maybe 12th grade. So we've done this 4 times. But once a year, we'd sleep over each other's houses. I actually sleep over his house because it was easier to sleep over his house. And we'd have Western night, and we'd find old Westerns like John Wayne. We watched The Magnificent Seven. We watched True Grit. We watched The Good, the Bad, and the Ugly. We watched Fistful of Dollars. So I don't know where that even came from. But we're like, we're going to watch Westerns. And we watched Western. We watched like 2 a night. We decided we were going to watch these movies. And I remember the last Western I saw with Brian was Unforgiven in 1991. Eventually won the Academy Award. We walked out of the movie theater going, that was the best movie. It was so good. It was so dark. It really paints a picture of what the West was. And then after that, I can't think of another Western I saw, and it really wasn't on my radar. And I never saw Tombstone because I was a freshman in college, didn't have money to go see movies. Finally got to see it because of you guys. Thank you, Cenk. I rediscovered it. I'm not saying I was on board with the movie 100%. Certainly entertaining, and that's my history. Never saw it. So we're going to go to IMDb breakdown. According to IMDb, Tombstone came out in 1993. It's rated R. Not entirely sure why. Comes in at 2 hours and 10 minutes. The 1-sentence breakdown is: a successful lawman's plan to retire anonymously in Tombstone, Arizona, are disrupted by the kind of outlaws he was famous for eliminating. Directed by, and I'm sure Melanie has something on this, George Cosmatos and Kevin Jari. Written by Kevin Jari. Stars, oh boy, a bunch of people. Kurt Russell as Wyatt Earp, Val Kilmer, Sam Elliott, Bill Paxton, Powers Booth, Michael Biehn, Charlton Heston. What? Jason Priestley's in this movie. John Tenney's in this movie. Stephen Lang, Thomas Hayden Church, Dana Delaney, Lisa Collins, and Michael Rooker are in this movie. Literally either stars from the past or stars from now in Tombstone. So let's talk about, yeah.
And Billy Bob Thornton.
Yes, I forgot.
Oh
Billy
my
Bob
God,
Thornton.
yes. Can I say that my husband, I read that he was in it, right? And my husband recognized him right away because you can tell his voice clear as day. I go,
Yep.
Which one? And he goes, right there. I go, oh my God. I'm like, he looks so different. I would not have recognized him at all unless he told me, because his voice, yes, but I wouldn't have recognized him unless my husband said, there he is. And I'm like, what? I mean, all it took was this big bad guy comes over, takes over this whole bar, and all it took was for somebody to go over and bitch slap him and pull him by the ear and throw him out the door. Yep. So he get teared up, and that was literally the end of it. Like, are you kidding? Like, that's all it took. That's all it took. But no one thought to try to get him out before that.
But how many years before he became Billy Bob Thornton?
Right.
Well, yeah, true. He was so.
But Jason Priestley's in this movie. He's like pseudo famous, and he barely does anything.
He's a little bit too pretty to be in this movie. I'm sorry, he just didn't look right.
He's too pretty.
Too pretty. He looked a little too girly for me to be. I don't know. I like Jason Priestley, but he did not fit that role. I'm sorry. I love him, but I was like, he just doesn't look like he belongs in this movie.
So let me jump in on a bunch of those things. First of all, part of what I loved about the movie was the Billy Bob Thornton scene when he slaps him And that's one of the lines that I quote or misquote. I don't know if I got it right, but you're gonna sit there and bleed all day, or you're gonna do something about it.
Yeah.
And so I say that on the Young Turks all the time. And then Jason Priestley sticks out like a sore thumb. It was like Vince Vaughn in True Detective. Like I love Vince Vaughn, but I'm like, I cannot concentrate because he does not belong in this show. And so Jason Priestley's like almost breaking the fourth wall or something. Like it was so jarring. But the flip side to that is, and this leads to another interesting conversation, which is that some of the characters in the movie are gay, but you can't say that back in 1993, and you can't say it in Western. Okay,
yeah. I was going to ask
and
that.
so they implied that Jason Priestley was gay.
Yep.
Oh, when he held the guy's hand at the end, Billy Zane.
Yeah, and the way that he loved watching the actor, and that was their way of saying, oh, he's into theater, he liked that actor, and at the end he holds his hand for a second after he passed away.
Shit.
It's not
Billy Zane. Billy Zane's in this movie. I forgot.
Right.
Yeah, Billy Zane.
Holy shit. Yeah.
And no, guys, like I recognize almost every actor in the movie. I'm not sure there's ever been a movie with more famous people than Tombstone. A guy passes through the screen once, and I'm like, oh, that's Quintus from Gladiator. When Maximus says, "Would you, Quintus? Would I?" When right in the beginning of the movie, when Quintus says, people should know when they're beaten. And I'm like, that's Quintus.
Wow.
And then I rewatched it or tried to watch it with my kids, which is another whole nother story. But the one actor that they recognized was,
I know who you're going to
go ahead.
The guy from The Walking Dead.
Yes.
Yeah.
But not
Michael Rooker.
Walking Dead, but because of Guardians of the Galaxy. He's Yondu in Guardians of the Galaxy. And I'm like, guys, that's a young Yondu. And they're like, no. And they look, oh my God, it's Yondu.
Yeah.
Everyone is in that movie. Everyone. And then at the end, they're like, oh, by the way, just in case we didn't put every star in Hollywood ever, here's Charlton Heston at that.
Yeah.
Oh my God, I knew I recognized him, but
he was in it.
From where. Okay, that's what it is.
I forgot he was in it. It was so kind of insignificant.
And I got to tell you, even though I'm going to get into the flaws of the movie after, they're all acting their asses off. Like all of them are fully fleshed out characters, regardless of the hot mess of the direction of this movie, which it is a hot mess.
Well, I'm sure Melanie's got something on that because
I know she does.
No, but I've heard some shit.
Holy shit. Like,
I don't know if I have everything, but I have a lot. Like
we could go case by case. Let's talk about Michael Biehn. Michael Biehn is the anti-Doc Holliday in this movie. Michael Biehn is what Doc Holliday could have been if he went to the dark side. Right? Michael Biehn is obviously so dangerous. Because he lets on that he knows Spanish, but he knows more Spanish than a Spanish person does, but he doesn't let on. And he knows that he's like a better gunfighter than his boss, but he's too cool to let people know that he's the best gunfighter around. Like, he's so dangerous. He's the opposite of Doc Holliday, who is also Val Kilmer, who is so dangerous. He's so dangerous, but he's on the good side, but he's neutral good. Yeah. He's chaotic good.
Like Dungeons and Dragons.
Kind of Dungeons and Dragons-y, right? And so, like, there's so much character development in this. Guys, can I just say something about Val Kilmer? And I didn't want to bring him up this soon, but, a couple of drinks. Yeah. Here's the thing. Did anybody get, like, Johnny Depp vibes from Val Kilmer's performance? Like,
I didn't until now you're saying it, but yeah.
Think about it. Like, he's actually being
Caribbean in there.
Yeah, absolutely. He is Captain Sparrow with a little more intelligence and a southern accent. He's got his shit together. He's pompous. He's damaged. Yeah. Jack Sparrow is damaged.
He's sarcastic. He's funny.
Yeah, he's sarcastic. He's funny, and he's above all of it. Yeah. But he's also vulnerable. Like, his performance in this is stealing. He's better than Kurt Russell is so hard to do. Yeah. But he's better than Kurt Russell and basically doesn't, except for shooting, like, the important people in the movie, Like, how important is he? Not that much. Like, he's important, but he is the anti-Michael Biehn.
He's why I wanted to see the movie, though.
Oh, he's so fucking good.
Him
he's
more
so
than
good.
anything in the movie. Like, I don't remember hardly anything, but he is what I remember.
He's so good. So any takes on Val Kilmer? Go ahead.
Yeah. So I have a personal story about Val Kilmer that's fun that I'll share with you in a sec.
Hit it.
Another tease. But what the scene where he's most like Jack Sparrow is when he does the gun twirling, but with the tin cup instead.
That was my favorite part. That's the part I remembered.
Right.
Yep.
That's got Jack Sparrow written all over it. And that's why I said in the beginning, like, of course it's not a comedy, but is it like a schlocky homage to Westerns? Or is it straight up a Western? Do you see what I'm saying? Even though I love this so much, because, like, I don't mind it either way. I don't care. Like, it's a rare movie where I don't care about the intent. Okay?
Yeah, sure.
Because the acting's so good. It's so fun either way. But I did kind of want to resolve it with you guys as to whether you thought it was a schlocky homage or just a straight up Western.
No, it's a schlocky homage. I mean, it's taking all the Western tropes and just doubling down on all of them.
I think it was supposed to be serious, though. I mean, I know it's comedy, but...
Yeah, it's not a comedy, except for... Even Val Kilmer, I mean, he says funny things, but it's not a comedy.
Right.
No,
I
you know
don't think it's a comedy.
Yeah. He is comic relief, even in the most serious moment. Like at the OK Corral, he winks. Like, right as he's got the shotgun, right? He's like, I got this. Like, like
that's what started the shooting.
Right. And it's like, I know you people are scared right now. This is my bread and butter. Like, like, I got this,
but,
so
but Jason, I agree with you there in that, like, I'm so much better than all of you. This is what I do, right? Yeah. But on the other side of it, he's being a cartoon. Like, all of the characters in this movie. So to Cenk's point, I think it is an old-timey Western, fistful of dollars. It's Clint Eastwood, man without a name. It's Good, the Bad, and the Ugly. But it's been shined up and been turned into a cartoon. Doesn't make it not a good movie. I'm not saying I liked it 100%. Doesn't mean it's not. It's just been glossed over to make it cartoonish, but still to have an edge so everybody can watch it. Because to Jay's point, old Westerns are kind of boring. They are. They're not digestible by most people. But Tombstone is digestible for everybody. And that's where we're going with this. And I think that's Val Kilmer's part. But on the other side of it, it is dark. Like, why is Doc Holliday the way he is? Why can he say this is my bread and butter? Because he knows he's going to die. He's got TB. Yeah. What's he got to lose? He's got nothing to lose. He knows he's on borrowed time. And for people that are on borrowed time, they live their best life because they know they're on borrowed time, right? Am I wrong? Like, I don't know. Like, that's, to me, is the genius of his character. And I'm glad that he wasn't the main character.
Right.
Yeah.
Just,
for that reason. Because it'd be too much.
It makes him gutsy.
Val Kilmer's, you could argue, almost whole career. I mean, not The Doors, and I'm sure you could find many other examples. But is
Top Secret.
I thought that was hilarious, though.
It's being the awesomely cool second guy.
Yeah.
Right? Iceman, Doc Holliday, like, that's what Val Kilmer is awesome at. Yeah. Right? He like almost Spock. And it's kind of a funny analogy, but a number two that's so cool, they might outshine the number one, even though you really like the number one, right? Like James C. Kirk's an amazing character, right? Yeah. But Spock might outshine him, and that's what makes that show so great, that they have such a powerful 1 and 2. Same thing for Top Gun, same thing for Tombstone.
Sure. Okay. I'll give you that.
And so, Melanie, I didn't know that he ad-libbed the wink, which...
He did.
That's
he
awesome.
Ad-libbed a lot. He so much. He ad-libbed him whistling when he walked up to the thing, too. Like, just so many things that he just did on his own for this movie.
I wonder if there's one scene that's in the same scene at the OK Corral. There's one thing that he does that I absolutely love. and I wondered if he had ad-libbed that. And I had no idea that people knew what he ad-libbed or didn't ad-lib. But when he's walking up with a shotgun and he's got his coat on, and then he does this, he shrugs his shoulders so that the coat falls off, and then he's just got the shotgun. It looked so fucking cool. And it feels like that's Val Kilmer.
Yeah. I'll tell you some trivia about him and Kurt Russell later, as far as to like how much they were really involved in this movie, like a lot more than you think.
I think what I liked about Val Kilmer, and again, I know the direction of this movie is all over the place, and I'm sure Melody's got something to say about that.
What?
It is loose. It is loosely the movie itself is loosely connected between its acts. But what I will say is what I appreciated the most about Val Kilmer's character is that he comes across first as an alcoholic. He comes across first as like he's sweating more than most people. He is more pale than most people, and we're not sure why. And we think he's just a degenerate drunk.
Well, no. I mean, you being a first-time watcher, you probably missed the narration at the beginning where the guy says, Doc Holliday, trying to deal with his tuberculosis, maybe thinks the Western.
I saw that.
It was right in the beginning.
I know, I did see that, but the fact of the matter is, once they go to the color,
I know. I'm saying no, but like, it is mentioned that he has TB. So
I know, but the fact of the matter is that we get to see him degenerate go through his different waves of degeneration. Like some days he's healthier, some days he's not. Some days he's healthier, some days he's not. And we don't know if he's drunk or if he's sick or what his deal is. Is he dying? Is he drunk? Is he sick? We don't know. But at the end of the day, he's still Doc Holliday. And it's a fully fleshed character to me. And I think it's mostly on the back of Val Kilmer. It's him doing the time to make sure the character does what the character should do, which I appreciate. I know Val Kilmer is that kind of actor.
I got to say this. No offense to Dennis Quaid, but he had the unfortunate position of playing Doc Holliday after Val Kilmer.
Yeah.
And it was just not good. It's just like, I was like, but it's, it's like saying, hey, I got this new guy who's going to play Darth Vader. Okay, come on.
Yeah.
I'm like, what? No, you can't have it. He already did it. And it's like,
Can we talk about the mustache work in this movie?
They're real.
God, these mustaches are the fucking best.
They're all real.
They're the fucking best. They're a character in themselves.
Yeah.
Well, Sam Elliott didn't even have to grow one. He probably taught people how to do a mustache.
Oh my God.
He's had a mustache forever and it's shaped the same way. So he probably told everybody how to do it.
Oh my God. If you want to be elected president, you need to grow a mustache.
Sam Elliott.
Look, I'm originally from Turkey. If I wanted to be president of Turkey, I have to grow a mustache.
Oh, fair enough.
It looked like there were so many mustaches in there. It looked like a Turkish police academy.
Oh my God!
They all have mustaches.
When I was growing up, there wasn't a single Turkish cop that didn't have a mustache.
That's so funny. Oh my God, that's the best. Let's talk. Damn it. The other Earp brother, not Sam Neill. Bill Paxton. Cenk, you said it. Like we were talking about first tier, second tier. He is classic third to fourth tier actor. Like he is so good as the fourth guy. Am I wrong?
Yeah, no, not at all. In fact, it's funny. Me and my friends were super randomly, having nothing to do with this, talking about how Matt Canada had gotten fired today. Offense coordinator of the Steelers.
Yeah.
And we were saying that if he was in a Tarantino movie, his name would be Canada Matt. And he'd be the second guy to die.
Yeah.
And then if he was, then we were talking about me, and we're like, if there was a character named the Turk, he'd be the second to last to die, and he would be the main, like, right hand guy, doesn't say anything except two badass lines, kills a whole heap of people. You thought he was going to die earlier, but he dies near the end, right?
Yep.
So like there are these movies like stereotypes, these ways that they structure these type of ensemble westerns, Tarantino type movies, right?
Yep.
And in that type of movie, Bill Paxton has fourth guy written all over him.
Oh yeah, he's a red shirt. He is a Star Trek red shirt by casting. Like, there's no way. He's got skills, but not enough to get him to the end.
He's if you, any of you are old school wrestling fans, he's SD Special Delivery Jones. He's Iron Mike Sharp. Okay, he's the guy that's supposed to lose to the main bad guy. Like the SD Special Delivery Jones was a good guy, and you always thought like, oh, he could win. He could win. Nah, he's gonna lose. He's gonna lose to the up and coming heel, right? And that's Bill Paxton.
I would like to reflect the fact that according to my Zoom meeting, the right-hand side of my screen knows exactly what the fuck you're talking about. And the left-hand side of my screen, Melanie and I are like, what the hell are you talking about? Melanie, do you have any idea what they're talking about just then?
No.
Okay, good. Just checking.
Yep.
No, I know what you mean. Like that, like the punching bag that eventually they're not going to win, and you know it, and that's okay because you expect it.
But the nuance there is, but they're pretty good.
Yeah.
They're not just a schlep, right? In wrestling had a lot of schleps that were all no names.
Yeah.
But when SD came out, you knew he was going to lose to a rising star.
Yep. You're rooting for him, but
Put
in the end,
over, right?
Yeah. There's no way. So guys, Kurt Russell. We're gonna talk Kurt Russell. So Kurt Russell is the best. I'm a giant fan of Kurt Russell. And here's the thing. When I listen to Kurt Russell in this movie, I'm listening to him again. I'm a big fan of Big Trouble in Little China. So I'm hearing Jack Burton. And I'm a big fan of Escape from New York. So I'm hearing Snake Plissken. And I'm a big fan of The Thing. So I'm hearing McCready. And what's weird about Kurt Russell is he sounds like all of those guys, but his rendition of
Wyatt Earp.
Wyatt Earp, thank you, sorry. His rendition of Wyatt Earp is minimally different. Sorry again. Minimally different from all those guys. Like, they're all those guys, but a little bit different. I want to say he's McCready when he says holy shit twice. When he says holy shit, doesn't he say, oh no, he says oh shit, right?
I guess. I don't know.
He says it twice and it sounds like McCready. And other times when he's acting, he sounds like Snake Plissken. And Snake Plissken is basically Clint Eastwood. And other times he sounds like Jack Burton, which is John Wayne. And but he's not all those guys. He's so close, but he's that much different. And to me, as an actor, that must be so hard to be just like the other guys, but just that much different. And to me, that's masterful. I don't know. I would like you to digress on the performance of Kurt Russell. What do you think?
Yeah, I'll jump in here. I think Kurt Russell was kind of perfect for this movie because his entire career makes me think, is it a schlocky homage or is it straight up? Like, Kurt Russell has that like thing where he's not a super serious actor. Like,
nope.
And he's got a kind of an over the top feel to him. And so another movie where he is very similar in my mind, how he acted as Tombstone was Miracle, about the miracle.
Sure. Oh my God. One of the movies I cry to. Thank you very much. Yeah.
Yeah, and it's a very similar feel, and partly because Kurt Russell's in it, where you're like, I get it. Like, I love this movie as a straight up inspirational sports movie, but at the same time, it's so over the top. And Kurt Russell is the guy you want if you have a main character who's going a little over the top, right? It's not to say that he's not a good actor.
No,
it's just that's what he does.
Yeah, Kurt Russell is, from what I've listened to his interviews or people that talk about Kurt Russell, is that some actors are into the craft. Like, oh, I research my actor and I want to know. I'm not even talking about method acting. I'm just talking about, like, I research my character and I want to know what they're feeling and I want to know how they react. And if you ask Kurt Russell about acting, it's like, it's bullshit. It's just lying. That's what he says. Like, acting's just lying. I'm being somebody else and I'm lying about it. He's not very precious with the craft, which I appreciate. He understands, though. Like, this is just make-believe. Fucking whatever. And you can see that coming through in all of his roles, particularly this one, and particularly the ones that precede this, is that you can see that he respects the craft, but he also doesn't take himself that seriously, but he knows when to turn it on. And he's just so friggin' believable. He is, guys, isn't he all over the place in this movie? Is he doing it because of a sense of justice? Is he doing it because he wants the money? Is he doing it because he wants to revenge his friends? What the fuck is his deal in this movie?
The deal is all he wanted to be when he first came in this. He just wanted to go to another town and start over and make some money. He didn't want anything to do with the law whatsoever. Yeah. He was retired. His brother, Sam Elliott, saw what was going on in the town. He wanted to help. He got involved. Then, of course, his other brother ended up getting involved, and he still wanted to stay out of everything. And he told them, stay out of it. He even wanted to move. He didn't even want to stay there. He just wanted to stay out of it and just have a brand new life. And it was when, he's the threat to his brothers. He knew he had to step in. And then he basically took over when one brother died. He wanted to send the other one to safety with his wife while they were still alive, and he was going to finally revenge his brothers. But he didn't want anything to do with it in the beginning, and it's not like he's all over the place. His mind changed as the movie went on.
Right.
Yeah, so, I agree with Melanie. I agree with Melanie. If there was anything serious in the movie, like a serious theme, it was that you are who you are, and you can't change it. Like Wyatt, the whole movie is trying to change who he is. And all three brothers are. But the first one who crumbles is Sam Elliott's character, where he just can't help himself because he's a lawman. He can't stand the injustice, right? And you know why it's going to crumble and become a lawman, and he does, right? And so that's the theme of the movie, which is that you can't escape your destiny.
Right. Sure. That's the theme of Unforgiven as well, is that as much as Clint Eastwood tries to get away from his past, he's going to hell and he knows it. He's unforgiven. Therefore, it doesn't matter if I'm trying to be good, I'm bad. And in this case, you have these three guys, the Earps, who are like, we're trying to be profiteers. We're trying to make a bunch of cash, but we're good.
Yeah.
So we have to, when we see injustice, we must act. As much as we try not to act, we must act. So
that everyone was scared in the town, and the way that they were living, and like the little boy almost got run over by the stupid cowboys who were just taking over everything. I mean, they were just like big bullies, and they just couldn't stand. They couldn't stand looking at them. Even when they were at the theater, Kurt Russell just kept looking at like, "Oh my God, shut up!" Like all the remarks that what's his face was making in the red shirt. What was
Curly
the name
Bill?
Of the movie? Billy. Yeah,
Curly Bill.
He was just like, "Oh my God, just shut up!" And he just knew like everything. He just knew they were just nothing but trouble.
Yeah.
No, by the way, he was looking at.
By the
them,
way,
like, this isn't.
I want to say the bravest person in this movie is probably Billy Zane, because if you're presenting yourself like in tights in a crowd full of people that have guns and
shoot at the ceiling,
shoot at the stage,
and
you can still sit there and do. They shot at his little statue there, the little whatever the hell that was.
The bus.
In his hair.
And
right there.
He's still going, the St. Crispin's Day speech. Like, holy shit, he's still doing it. It's like, wow.
Yeah.
But like, I had never picked up on the Priestley being gay character until today, because like when he held the hand, and then also you had they showed Dana Delaney's face. Look at it. Like, look at the hand holding for a second. And that was like a thing that they were like, but I never actually picked up on that. So
I never picked up on that either. Even just when I watched it the other day, I saw that, but I thought he was just sad for him, and I thought that she looked at him like, oh, he does care. You know what I mean? Like he was a good guy and this guy does care about him. But I still didn't pick up on that.
See, when he touched his hand, and to me, it confirmed what I had already thought as I was watching the movie. But he kind of justified Jason Priestley feeling like he was so different than everyone else. In a sense, he was supposed to be different than everyone else. He was the character who cared more. He was the character that was not so cold-hearted and eventually couldn't take the injustice after, what happened to Zane, etc. So it kind of justified that he stuck out like a sore thumb to me. And in terms of the whole arc, you can't wait for, at least I remember watching it the first time around. I don't know if I saw it in a trailer. And I know, of course, the second time that I watched it, I'm waiting for it the whole time. I think I probably got on YouTube and rewatched this scene too. The whole time you're waiting for Wyatt Earp to go become Wyatt Earp again. And so when he says, I'm coming and I'm bringing hell with me.
Yeah.
That's what you want. That's the payoff of the whole movie. Like him shooting guys afterwards is like almost an epilogue. Like, okay. Yeah, like the climax is when he says he's bringing hell with him, and the crowd's like, yes, right?
It is.
It's like the same moment when Kurt Russell, we beat the Russians in Miracle, and he goes in the hallway and does the yes, right? Yeah. And that's that character's version of the payoff, right? That's Kurt Russell being Kurt Russell at his peak Russell, and that's what we wanted.
I have an alternate recording from that. You want to hear it?
Sure.
All right.
The Cowboys are finished. You understand me? I see a red sash. I killed a man wearing it. So run, you cur. Run! Tell all the other curs.
Justice is coming.
You tell them.
Justice is coming.
And hell's coming with me, you hear? Hell's coming with me!
Of course!
What is that?
What the hell is that?
That's for my show.
Oh, Jesus Christ. All right.
And the name of my book is Justice is Coming.
All right.
So since I started running for president, I stopped promoting it. But since you mentioned it, tyt.com/justice. It's called Justice is Coming, so that's perfect.
No, Cenk, I got to ask you this. I don't know if I have to, this is the poster. That's the tagline for the Tombstone. And I was like, is that how he got his freaking book title?
Oh,
no, but this is one of the best reveals in podcast history. I totally didn't know that or forgot that.
That's awesome.
Oh my God, Justice is Coming is the actual tagline of Tombstone, one of my favorite movies.
That's awesome.
And
oh my God.
So was it intentional? Absolutely not. Was it probably deeply buried in my head?
Deep in your head, you just didn't realize it.
That's great.
It's part of your psyche. My goodness.
Yeah. Nice catch, Jay.
So
I want to say something.
Yeah.
Just about the movie in general. I just kept saying it over and over to my husband. I was like, I cannot believe, just from the very beginning, when Val Kilmer was playing, poker or whatever, and some guy whips out a gun, and then he whips out a gun. I'm like, it was insane to me that back then you'd be like, I'm just going to shoot you. I don't like you. I'm just going to shoot you right here. I'm going to shoot up this bar. I'm going to shoot the ceiling. I'm going to shoot whatever. And then and then when one guy get killed, he goes, it was a fair fight. He called me a liar. So you can just shoot someone because it's fair because they called you a liar. He started it. I mean, it's again, with guys, you know what I mean? Just guys in general, they're always wanting to fight each other and they think it's all right.
It's kind of glossed over. It's taking the manliness of old Westerns and cranking it up to 11. The West wasn't fucking like that. That's not
it's insane.
It was either, I think it was just general lawlessness or not that bad. I mean, I wasn't there, but the fact of the matter, go ahead.
Yeah, I looked this up because we cover news and politics on Young Turks. So we unfortunately have to cover mass shootings all the time.
I was just thinking about that.
Yeah, it turns out that the legendary shootout at the OK Corral, only 2 people died.
Sure.
These days it wouldn't even register it. That's not even a mass shooting. Mass shootings when 4 people get shot or 4 people die. So OK Corral would have been a blip. So Melanie, as it turns out, it's much, much, much worse now than it was back then.
Well, and that's what I was thinking. I'm like, it's almost turning back into that because I'll never forget watching. I don't watch the news that often, honestly. And I remember, I think it was during COVID time, I was watching a little bit. And I remember I met this guy, it was in Atlanta. was walking down the street and he had a machine gun in his hand. I know you're not supposed to call it a machine gun, whatever the hell this freaking called, but it was a huge ass machine gun in my eyes. And I was like, I know the real gun people are going to get on me. Like, it's not technically a machine gun. Anyway, I was like, oh my God. I said to my husband, I'm like, what is that? I'm like, is that a machine gun? And he goes, yeah. I go, somebody's just allowed to walk around with that in public? He goes, yeah, they're legal. I'm like, that's insane to me. Like, and that's the problem. And like, I mean, I don't want to go on about that, but that's insane that you're allowed to walk around with something like that. There's no anything like that unless you want to do something.
Every morning in DC. Every morning in DC.
No
you hear something about that.
Like,
yep.
So armed to the teeth actually is a saying that comes from Scotland. The Teeth is a river in Scotland. And the reason you'd be armed to the teeth is because you could only be, because everybody was armed, but when you got to towns, you had to turn in your weapons, just like in Tombstone.
Yeah.
And in Tombstone, you also had to turn in your weapons, which was accurately portrayed in the movie. That's why things are way crazier today than they were back then, because at least when you got into a major town with more people, not every time, but a lot of times they would take your guns from you. And then they would give it back to you when you're leaving town. Whereas now, to your point, Melanie, some guy can walk down the streets of Atlanta with an assault weapon. Yeah. I mean, in some Westerns, they have those Gatling guns, which are my favorite. The ones that go, that are circular, right?
Yeah.
And that's, I joke around on the show, but it's not exactly joking these days, that somebody's going to bring a Gatling gun one day to like a Walmart. And the Second Amendment guys are going to be like, of course, that's what the Valley wanted. They wanted Gatling guns at Walmarts, right?
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, no, it's totally out of control now.
I'm
but
not
by the way,
people having guns, but I just don't believe, no one's ever going to convince me that you need that type of gun for anything. And to be allowed to just walk around this town with it is insane to me. That looks like he's going to, like, how do you know that guy's not going to go crazy in 5 seconds? You're allowed to carry that. Like,
in the middle of Montana or in the middle of the Old West, where you have a ranch and there's no law enforcement for miles.
Yeah.
And someone's coming into your property.
Sure, have a gun.
Steal your shit. Sure.
Yeah.
But in a densely populated city, we can probably get a police officer pretty quick. I don't think we need to be walking around with AR-15s.
And it was like some sort of like a riot type thing. And I'm like, that's not.
Yeah, that's bullshit.
Safe.
That's
like,
nonsense.
How many people over there for that?
Just real quick, Melanie, that also explains the Billy Bob Thornton scene. Because the reason why it's easy to throw out Billy Bob Thornton, but no one did it before, is because any slight means you're probably going to get into a gunfight and die, right?
Yeah.
So you have to be ready when someone slaps you. This is an existential moment for you.
They did
you might die in this moment.
They did a lot of big slapping in this movie. Like, they slapped Billy Bob Thornton, somebody slapped the bartender, and then Wyatt Earp slapped someone else. I was like, oh my God.
Yeah. No, but like on the guy who slapped the bartender, we haven't mentioned him, Ike. He's a big character because he's always flip floppy. Like, I'm brave. Okay, now I'm in trouble. I am no longer brave. Right? Like, it's like I am a bad. Wait, what's that word? He's like every time he's like, I'm gonna get you because I have my friends right here.
Yeah.
And then the moment he's got a gun on him, he's like, I swear I didn't mean it. Like, and he drops it. He's. I mean, by the way, I think it's so funny that like
wait for him to get it.
They're gonna kill him. They're gonna kill him in the back. Because he's run. He's riding. They're like, they're already gonna get him. He takes the red sash and drops it, and it's like, oh, he quit. It's like, can't shoot him. It's like, wait, this guy's gonna like turn on you like in about a week, right? So I just thought it was kind of funny.
That's you're like, why did you let him live to begin with? When he's like, go tell all your friends. I'm like, we were just like, hey, you should just kill him now because that's one less guy you got to try to fight later on.
He's one of those actors though that looks better now.
Really? I don't. Yeah,
he's an Avatar. Did you ever see Avatar?
I've only seen the first one, and it was so long
ago. Oh my God!
Yeah,
is he the main like bad guy?
Yeah.
Holy cow!
I'm gonna look this up. All right, I'm gonna look this up.
No, everybody has to watch Tombstone just to see all those actors. And
that's true.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah.
Although Sam Elliott looks the same in anything.
Yeah,
he looks the same in Mask, and he looks the same in The Ranch. He looks like he's always the same.
He could narrate anything, by the way. Anything.
Yeah. Yeah, he's awesome. I love him. He's so good.
Chris, so I don't want to run out of time and not find out. Where does I'll Be Your Huckleberry come from?
Okay.
I'll Be Your Huckleberry.
Oh, Melanie has it.
Melanie's got it, but
you know what?
Okay.
Let me play the TMI. Let me play the TMI
intro. Let's go TMI.
It's time for TMI with Melanie.
Listen to this. I am in the bathroom right before the movie starts. And I'm in the stall, and there's no toilet paper.
And mine are at home in a display case above my bed.
TMI, my friends.
TMI? Too much information.
Don't go there, but that's lame.
Now, here's Melanie with your timeless movie info.
All right, so I'll just do the that part first. So, okay. So in 2020, Val Kilmer put an end to the long-standing Huckleberry-Hucklebearer debate. He claims that the line was written as "I'm your Huckleberry" in the script, meaning "I'm your man, you've met your match." But the reason why people didn't understand what he said was because in the 1800s, a burial casket would have 3 handles on each side, and they were used to lift and carry the person. So instead of being called a pallbearer like we do now, they were called a hucklebearer.
Oh.
So that's basically
so I am your ultimate man.
Yeah.
The last person you'll see, I am your hucklebearer.
Yeah.
Your name is a huckleberry.
And in the movie, did he say Hucklebearer or Huckleberry?
He said Huckleberry, like I am your man. Okay. You know what I mean? Kind of a thing.
Yeah. That's what I thought.
Referring to Huckleberry, like from the books. All right. The budget was $25 million. It grossed 73.2. Filming in Arizona was plagued with the heat and scorpions. Let's see. The line quoted by Doc at the end of the fight when confronted by one of the cowboys, when he said, "Doc, you son of a bitch, I've got you now." And Doc replied, "You're a daisy if you do," was actually historically true. He did say that. When the Earps first enter Tombstone, a grave marker in the cemetery says, "Here lies Lester Moore." 4 slugs from a 44, no less, no more, is actually a real tombstone. In Arizona, was a person who was murdered. It was a Wells Fargo agent murdered in Naco. Is it Naco, Arizona?
No.
Val Kilmer improvised many, many lines in acting. According to Val Kilmer, the screenwriter wanted the actors to wear real wool costumes in accordance with the time period. In the birdcage theater scene, Kilmer says the thermometer on the set read 134 degrees Fahrenheit. Kilmer suggested jokingly that the reason why Doc Holliday killed so many people is because he wore wool in the summer in Arizona. That made him mad. Let's see. Val Kilmer practiced for a long time on his quick draw speed and gave his character a Southern aristocrat accent. The Southern accent is an authentic touch, as Holliday was a distant cousin of Margaret Mitchell, the author of Gone with the Wind.
Right.
Val also had the art department fill his deathbed with ice, which he laid on, not only to shake more on the performance, but also to create pain equal to what Doc may have felt was saying goodbye to his best friend.
Wow.
When Virgil returns to the salon and collapses after being shot, Kurt Russell accidentally banged his head when he was trying to pick him up off the floor. Adjusted for inflation, and I thought this too, $500, that's a lot of money back then. When Curly Bill wins $500. Okay, so when this movie was made in 1993, that equaled $6,700 back then. Wyatt Earp died in 1929, having never have been scratched by a single bullet. The fact that his name is known above, for instance, is because at the time of the famous gunfight is largely due to Wyatt's self-promotion. Before his death, he walked in Hollywood circles, and John Wayne once claimed to have met him, apparently modeling his famous walk from Wyatt Earp. Wyatt Earp became a consultant in the motion picture industry, advising on westerns after he moved into Hollywood in 1915. He visited the sets on several silent films directed by John Ford and starring actor Harry Carey. In the movie Tombstone, the role of Marshal Fred White was played by Harry Carey Jr. All right. In reality, Johnny Ringo did not die at the hands of Doc Holliday. On July 14th, 1882, Ringo's body was found lying against a tree trunk in Arizona. A neighboring property owner heard a single gunshot on the afternoon of July 13th and discovered Ringo's body the following day. His feet were wrapped in strips of cloth from his undershirt, and probably because his horse had gotten loose from his picket and bolted, with his boots tied to the saddle, a method commonly used at that time to keep scorpions out of them. There was a bullet hole in his right temple and an exit wound in the back of his head. His revolver had one round expended and was found hanging by one finger in his hand. His horse was found 2 miles away with his boots still tied to the saddle. A coroner's request stated the cause of death is unknown. That sounds like a suicide to me.
Yep.
But supposedly by a gunshot. His body is buried near the base of a tree where it was discovered. In the movie, Curly Bill is not charged with the murder of Marshal Fred White, as there was no witnesses to the shooting. In real life, charges were not filed because prior to his death, Marshal White explained the shooting was an accident. During the famous gunfight, members of the two opposing parties were initially only about 6 feet apart, and 30 shots were fired in 30 seconds in the OK Corral fight, for real. Mm-hmm. Director George P. What do you say? Cosmatos?
Yep.
Is quoted as saying, all the lightning and the mustaches in this movie are real. The movie was filmed during monsoon season, although there was a couple parts of lightning that were fake that was next to the actors. But all the mustaches are real. Doc Holliday's last words, "I'll be damned," are uttered when he realizes he has bare feet. He swore that he was die with his boots on.
Oh, I was trying to figure that out. So yeah.
Well, and there's a little bit more to that, because they said that the main theory is that Doc had become a gunfighter, hoping that somebody would kill him to spare him the effects of tuberculosis. So that was another reason why he was like, "I'll be damned," like I'm dying.
Got it.
Kind of a thing. Let's see. I went down, so I have to try to figure out where it was. All right. Val Kilmer wrote in 2017 that Kurt Russell was a major influence in directing of this film. He was solely responsible for Tombstone's success, no question. A month into production, Kevin Jarre was replaced as the director after he became overwhelmed in the duty and fell behind schedule. George P. Cosmatos, and by the way, Sylvester Stallone recommended him for the movie for doing this. Was brought in and hit the ground running. According to Kilmer, "I was there every minute, and although Kurt's version differs slightly from mine, the one thing he's totally correct about is how hard he worked the day before the next day's shot list, and tremendous effort he and I both put into editing, as the studio Hollywood Pictures would not give us any extra time to make up for the entire month that we lost with the first director. I watched Kurt Russell sacrifice his own role and energy to devote himself as a storyteller, even as going so far as to draw up the shot list to help our replacement director, who came in with only 2 days prep." So they did a lot for this movie. It wouldn't have been as the way it was if it wasn't them. Wyatt's wife, Maddie, suffered from severe headaches in real life. It was called I'm not going to say this right, a laudanum addiction.
Laudanum.
Basically opium.
It's opium. Yeah.
Originally, it was a 10% raw opium, equivalent to 1% pure morphine, that was soaked in ethanol. It had been used in medicine since at least the 17th century as any kind of pain medication. They gave it as cough suppressants, cramps, anything back then. In fact, it took them 200 years for it to be like kind of banned. But even babies were born with, what do you call it? Like
withdrawals.
Withdrawals. Yeah, they were born with withdrawals because the moms were taking it while they were pregnant. For any kind of pain. The way in which Doc Holliday was introduced in the first showing with his hand flipping the coin before panning up to his face is almost identical to his first appearance in Top Gun 1986. The only difference, instead of the coin, it was a pen. The famous quote from Wyatt, "I already got a guilty conscience, might as well have money too," was stolen from The Last Hunt 1956 movie. And this is kind of cute. In 1988, Kurt Russell named his son Wyatt Russell after Wyatt Earp, the character he would eventually play in this movie.
Wow.
That's cool.
All right. Super.
I considered naming my son Wyatt, but 2 of my friends beat me to it. So then I was like, I can't do a third Wyatt.
It's too
Now I
much.
can't do it, yeah.
Check it out. It's the Wyatt trio.
So we named them Curly. No, I mean, what?
So instead I named my book Justice is Coming.
Oh, perfect.
Yeah, that's right.
It's time now for Final Judgment. Are you ready to rubber stamp this bitch? Here's the Final
All right,
Judgment.
time for Final Judgment. A lot of people in this movie received Final Judgment. mostly from Doc Holliday. No, but like it's the moment where we talk about how well this movie holds up, and let's start with Cenk.
Yeah, it's a 9 out of 10. It holds up great because as long as you're along for the ride, as like if you're expecting Unforgiven, you're not going to get that, right?
Nope.
No, it's not like a serious movie that's trying to be a classic. It's trying to be what it is. It's uniquely. It's the funny thing is, I would say that it's maybe a combination of, and this is a really weird description of, but Unforgiven with The Big Lebowski. Like you take those sensibilities, like a Western,
wow, all right, yeah,
right, and then but like the fun feel of The Big Lebowski with like the over the top acting and the schlock and all that stuff, and you smush them together, and you got Tombstone. And
sure.
and it's hard not to appreciate that. So when I rewatched it, I felt like, no, that's exactly how I felt when I watched it the first time.
Melanie.
All right. So when I first watched the movie, I absolutely loved it. Loved it when I was younger. And I still totally enjoyed watching it. I loved it. I was so glad. I was actually very excited to see this movie because I hadn't seen it in a long time, and I remember how much I liked it. I do honestly feel like if you like all these actors, I feel like everybody needs to see it at least once. I feel like if you like all these actors and you like Westerns, you know, you want like a good movie to watch, I said definitely watch it. I do kind of feel like I remember towards the end thinking, how much longer does it have? So I'm not going to say I don't like it. I do like it. I like it a lot. And I feel like everybody should watch it. But I did kind of feel like it was a little long. I don't know. Something about it. So I'm going to say I think it holds up to a lot of people. But I think you have to be in the mood to watch it. And I don't think people that are super young right now would have the attention span for it. I don't know. So I'm going to go 50-50 on it. But I did want to talk about the very end, which we didn't talk about, with Val Kilmer killing Ringo. At that last words when he was talking to Wyatt, and he goes, "I can't beat him, can I?" And he's like, "Nope." And he knew he was going to get killed. So I love that he snuck over there and met him and did it first because he knew that his best friend was going to get killed. And I just had to say that that was a really good, nice, awesome thing because he knew that, like, he knew he could beat him and he'd be the only one that could do it. But at the same, and he didn't want his friends to get killed. But he also knew that if for some reason he doesn't beat him and he dies, you know, he knows he was on the deathbed anyway. But I just thought that was awesome because he knew that he'd be the best chance because he knew how fast the other guy, and he knew that he was the only one that could have a chance of killing him.
Sorry, I was just like to go along with what you're saying.
I'll
go next. On that scene, what's so, you know, how Chris, you were talking about how awesome Johnny Ringo is and dangerous he is.
Yep.
Think about how dangerous Doc is, because Doc is like a minute away from death. You can see it on his face. He's sweating. He's weak.
He's pale.
He's still. Oh crap! Please don't go away. No, I just since we're this close to the end. He'll be back in a second.
That's so weird. I've never seen that.
Like this. It's like fucking like internet or something. Like it's like like it bounces up and down.
Sorry.
No, it's all right. Even if I don't see you, but at least I know it's recording.
It's there.
And it's recording you. Anyways, I want to say how awesome is that he's in his weakened state, sick as a dog, can pull out the gun, shoot him, put it back, and then taunt him for another minute. Like, come on.
Yeah.
Sure.
It's the greatest moment. He's like, come on. He still has enough energy to go, come, what's the matter? It's the greatest, man. It's such a great feeling. I love this. And it's funny. Chris, you had said I wasn't, that into it or whatever, like, or you didn't like it that much. And I was worried for a second. Is this gonna like am I gonna have like revisionist history now? Am I gonna watch this and suffer? And I watched it. I was like, no, I loved it.
Yeah,
I felt just as good as I ever did. So I'm gonna say it still feels the same. I was just as excited to watch it, and I didn't even have to watch the whole thing. Like I could hear it in the background and know exactly what was happening. So it was great, and it was so much fun. And Chris,
super. All right. So I think if you are into the actors, and I think that if you are drinking their Kool-Aid, it's really an interesting watch. I think everybody does a super job. I think the direction is a mess. I think that the fact that they have a scene and they're playing pool and Kurt Russell says, do you believe that they let him off without, they said he was innocent because there were no witnesses? Like, to me, that's poor direction. And the fact that we have a scene where we have Kurt Russell say, no, and he walks out in the middle of everything and doesn't get shot 9 times is, to me, a little bit crazy. So that, to me, is the comic book aspect.
But they're going off of true stories, though.
I know, but that's bullshit.
Old.
No, look. It's going back from old Westerns where a 6-gun can shoot 9,000 times and no one reloads, and a 2-barrel shotgun can shoot 6 times and no one reloads.
Yeah.
And I get it. It's okay. It's a cartoon. I understand that. It doesn't matter what I think about the movie in terms of filmmaking. You can tell that they had direction problems. You can tell that Kurt Russell took over a little bit. I think it's kind of patchwork together. But having said that, I'm going to side with Melanie and say that most people don't really care about Westerns anymore. I also think that it's piggybacking on the fact that Westerns had a resurgence in the early 90s, and that people really wanted to go see epic movies that were over 2 hours, that were these stylistic things to watch back in the early 90s. And I don't think people care about that anymore, unless it's a Marvel movie, which is unfortunate. So to that end, I would say the actors are fantastic. I think the direction is a little bizarre because the movie has about 5 different tones to it, and I don't know what to follow. And I don't think it holds up because I don't think anybody's going to watch the movie anymore. I think we are, but I don't think anybody else is.
Yeah,
so
like
to
we
that
like
end,
it, but would somebody young want to like it? You know,
I don't think so.
Yeah.
So to that end, I don't think it holds up.
All right,
that's it.
So,
yeah,
I'll say the last couple of things if you guys don't mind.
No,
go.
Yeah, number one, to that point, I did have trouble having my kids watch it. I thought they'd like it with me. 13-year-old son and 11-year-old daughter. My daughter actually hung in there with me the whole time, but my son went to go play video games.
Attention span nowadays. That's what I'm saying.
Yeah, totally attention span. But I would say that if if you're a kid and you're out there and you have heard of Westerns, but you don't want to watch all the old Westerns, just watch Tombstone and you'll get it.
Sure.
You have all these great actors. It's like I keep saying, it's a little bit over the top, schlocky version of Westerns, but at the same time, that's how Westerns were. They weren't Unforgiven. They were like Tombstone, right?
Yep.
And so just watch Tombstone and you got it covered. Okay.
Yeah.
Easy. And so next thing is I'm in LA. I just got there. This is about 20 years ago. I came from the East Coast and I live off of Sunset. That's where we started the Young Turks in a little 1-bedroom apartment. And this maniac cuts me off in the middle of the road. I mean, massively cuts me off in a dangerous way. He's got like this really cool old car and it's a convertible. And I honk at him like, what the fuck? And then he turns around and he gives me like a V for victory and this big giant smile. And it turns out the V is not for victory. It's for Val Kilmer. And it was Val Kilmer that I
nice
off. And I was like, oh my God. And I went from like, what the fuck to, oh, that's so cool.
Oh my God.
And Val Kilmer just cut me off in traffic.
Oh my God. I would have died.
Yeah.
So,
awesome.
yeah, LA's been surreal. And then seeing guys like that in real life and then seeing them in the movies is amazing.
What year is that?
That's a good question. That had to be around 2001, 2002. So in that ballpark.
I love him. I follow him on Instagram. Did you watch his documentary that he made?
I did. And it was kind of heartbreaking.
Oh, God, yeah. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I mean, because I remember Val Kilmer, of course, from all these great movies where he's like the essence of vitality, right? In Top Gun, Iceman, like as
the Saint. Remember the Saint?
Yeah, the Saint. But even Doc Holliday, even as sickly as he was, he's so young and so
good.
vibrant.
Yeah.
And then to see him in the documentary as he is today, it's just heartbreaking, you know?
It sure is.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And then I'll end on this. JankForAmerica.com.
Yeah, man.
There it is.
That's awesome. So yeah, that was our show. We'd like to thank you for being here, man. That was great. So if you want to tell everybody about that, that's cool.
Yeah. So like Jay said in the beginning, I am actually running for president. Yes, I am actually polling better than 3 governors right now. And I'm an alternative to Joe Biden, who's going to lose, but I don't want to make it too political. And basically what I told Joe Biden is, I'll be your Huckleberry.
Wow.
But I'm worried a Hucklebearer in given his shape. But anyways, 222. Let's knock on wood. So JankForAmerica.com if you'd like to find out more about it or support the campaign.
Awesome.
Fantastic.
Thank you so much for being here. And I'd like to thank Steve Lavoie for our vocal imaging and Draco and the Malfoys for our theme music. And please help us by liking this video and subscribing to the channel. It really helps. And my name is Jay Fortier. And on the behalf of co-host Chris Martineau and co-host Melanie Howerton, I'd like to thank you for joining us here on the Film Crickets. And until next time, movies may not age like fine wine, but we drink it anyway. Bye.